Hello everyone, it's Moonkin FTW back with yet another episode of the RCT3 Coaster Challenge, a video series where I make a nice looking coaster for every single coaster type there is in the game, and there's a lot of them, so it's a pretty long series. We're up to episode 29, I believe, or 28, excuse me, and today we're tackling the junior coaster. And in this episode, I actually had a decent amount of inspiration, so to say. So I'm going to do a roller coaster in a specific type of theme, but you will see that as we go along. For now, I'm just figuring out the layout of the track, which mostly consists out of kind of more gentle drops and wide turns, some helixes here and there. Nothing too crazy because again, this is supposed to be like a junior or a family coaster, and again, this roller coaster also doesn't have a lot of track options. So yeah, the layout of the roller coaster itself is pretty much done, and the theming I'm going for is more like a forest theming, like a national park, if you will. So let's say Yosemite or something like that, like a very nice, beautiful national park with forest and lots of lush greenery, if you will. So I'm going to try and replicate that, and I'm not sure if that makes any sense right now. Again, English is my first language. But I hope it will make sense as we go along with this video and as you'll see me building the theming. So first we're going to start off with this western looking building, but it's supposed to kind of resemble like a log cabin or something like that. So that is what we have as the beginning of the ride. And for this ride I'm going to do a lot more when it comes to terraforming, so hills and everything. I also have a pretty sweet idea in mind that you will see later that I am really proud of. But first off, I'm starting off with just a little bit of basic elevation to see how it goes. And here I'm going to build a waterfall. That's right, I almost never do this. But again, since I wanted to create like this very beautiful national park with, trees and everything, I wanted a waterfall feature in there as well. So how do we do that? Well, first of all, we make some sort of like a river or like a small lake down below. And I'm going to make a small pond in this elevated territory, if you will, this elevated area. And then you're able to make a waterfall just like that. So as you can see, it's not perfect because the hills itself or anything like that, they're very blocky still. So I'm just figuring out the rest of the surroundings first, and then I can get to making this look more realistic. Now, for this realistic look, I'm using Weber Foliage set. And what I'm doing here is I'm using these rocks, so to say, here and there to kind of hide the blocky terrain after, that actually forms the waterfall, if you will. I'm not sure if that makes any sense. I'm trying to, translate it to the best of my ability in English. But you can see that the rocks there kind of mask it and make it a lot more realistic, if you ask me. Now, this foliage set contains rocks, but also trees. I'm actually going to use those. They look really nice. The only problem is that they're very dark, and unfortunately, when it comes to the grass or the texture, the texture of the ground, you don't really have a lot of options when it comes to darker, grass or like darker, dirt or anything like that. But you'll see me improvise and kind of, work around this as we go along through this build. So here you can see him experimenting. Oh yeah, this looks a little bit better with that kind of more, darker tint of gray, more, beige-ish. But I'm thinking, okay, this is fine for now. We'll fix it later, and we're just gonna focus on the supports. Now the supports are a little bit iffy on the junior coaster because they, the track is very thin, and it's also kind of, it's I wouldn't say transparent, but you can see through the track. There you go, and that means that the supports will never be perfect on the junior coaster. So you see a lot of them don't even match up. And luckily, Moby Steel Jungle, which is the add-on we're using to build these supports, has a connector piece, a vertical cap offset, and we can use that to kind of connect the supports. You can see it right here. Now, it's not going to look 100% perfect. Sometimes they don't quite touch, or sometimes they go a bit through the track a little bit. But, that's just the nature of building custom supports in RCT3. Sometimes it's just not going to work out the way you want it, especially with something like this, like the junior coaster. So, you got to work with what you have and make do. So now that the vertical supports are done, I'm going to add side supports. because of course, generally speaking, rides don't just have one simple vertical beam. There's a lot of lateral Gs that you have, so you also have some side supports. And I'm going to use some pre-made designs that I have. Also going to make a new one here very quickly, and I'm copy pasting that pre-made design all over the ride where it fits. So I put a few here, a few there, and then you can see that the base structure, the pre-made structure of some of them are white, and of course I'll change that to brown later on. So the theming for the ride is of course, like I said, the forest. So I think the green track with the brown supports actually looks quite nice, but that's just my personal opinion. So I'm almost done here. I'm going to add some extra footers, of course, to make sure that all these support beams have footers. To like I said, make it more realistic. And I'm really digging the area where the waterfall is, where the track turns around into this lake. But for now, let's just focus on coloring all these supports so that they have the same color. So all nice and brown, which really fits the theme that I'm going for. And we're slowly but surely making our way and completing this ride. Again, this ride compared to some ride owes me a lot more time, but yeah, it is what it is. I have a lot of inspiration. So here I'm actually making some small ponds, and I'm using Shy Guy's rock set to create some, again, some bit more realistic ponds with some boulders and stones and all that. And I'm also going to use some bushes and everything to, like I said, make it a bit more like a lush green environment, this and that. I'm also correcting some of the terraforming where you still see like that blocky texture. I don't want that. So here I'm going to use some extra texture. So first of all, I'm going to use the rock texture to add to the steep hills of the steep parts of the hills basically that we have here. Here I'm going to use Shy Guy's rock set again to get rid of that blocky texture, that stuff that sticks out. I don't want to have that. And as well, I want to have some rocks next to the river or the lake bed, if you will, with some foliage again, just to make that, like I said, like that national forest, like Yosemite kind of feel, if you will. I'm not sure if that makes any sense, but I think you guys kind of understand what I'm going for. So this Weber's foliage set is actually quite nice because it also has some foliage for the ground, so you're able to actually make quite a detailed environment. So here you see me working a little bit more on the rock texture, and it's starting to look a bit better and better. So what I'm doing is I'm very carefully placing a little bit of that rock texture here and there to make the ground darker, but you still have some of that sand texture going, grass texture going through. And that way you're actually able to have this kind of darker grass texture, if you will. So anyway, that's, we're trucking along quite nicely. We're actually almost done with the ride itself. Here I've placed some of those pine trees, and I thought to myself, man, does that work? It doesn't quite work as well. They're a little bit too out of place. So I'm just going to stick with just the trees from the Weber's foliage set. So this area where the roller coaster is pretty much done, but of course I also want some trees on these hills right here, because it's going to look pretty weird if you're in this, again, lush green environment and there's only trees right next to the ride and not in the background, if you will. So I'm just going to place some here and there and make it all a bit more realistic and add to the environment. Here I'm going to raise the land a little bit to make sure that while you're riding the ride, you're also not looking over these hills. I want to make sure that when you're riding, you don't see this flat grassland behind. I'm pretty sure I managed to do that properly when we're going to look at the POV. But for now, we're just going to keep on focusing on building all these trees. And good thing about these trees is they're quite flexible. They are, they go through other objects, so you're very easily able to place a bunch of them. And we're almost done. So here I had another idea. I wanted to make kind of a watchtower, if you will, a wooden watchtower. And I think that design actually worked out quite nicely. And it's also around this, I think it's a helix or something like this bank turn. I think it looks quite nice. I'm going to add some fencing here to make it look more like a ranch, if you will, like a property. Oh, and here I wanted to kind of make a wooden structure that would go over the queue, but I just didn't quite like how it turned out. We wanted to make it look like a barn or something, but I just couldn't quite figure it out. So I just ditched the whole idea. For now, I just settled with some canvas tents, which still have the correct color scheme. I'm not a huge fan of these, but it looks a bit better. So I might change that later, but for now it's okay. So here you can see again, I'm using the texture to kind of make the sand just a little bit more dark, if you will. And yeah, that's almost it. I'm just gonna look at some few things I might want to change here and there, and that will be it. I'm just gonna add the catwalk for the final brake run as well. And that's pretty much it. That is the junior coaster done. It's got the log train, so I think it's also very fitting for the theme that we're going for. And yeah, this is actually one I really like. I mean, I've had not so much inspiration throughout these last few episodes because they're always just, they were always an inverted roller coaster, so always kind of the same trick, if you will. So I'm happy that we're tackling some new, or some different designs, if you will. And again, with this one, I had a lot of inspiration because like, oh, I can use the ladybug theme, but I can also use the log trains. And there you go. So let's go ahead and ride this. I imagine it's going to be a bit laggy because there's a lot of objects I placed. And sometimes the game also doesn't really work that well with custom scenery objects. So here we go. By the way, the texture on this log train is a little bit, it's not too great. But let's see here. So you can see the frame rate. Yeah, it's starting to drop a bit. Nice, look at that. Decent pacing because of course it's a junior coaster, so it's not going to be super fast or anything like that. Nice, here we go into the helixes. Oh yeah, that's some frame drops. Okay, here we go. Second helix. And now for probably my favorite part, we get into the waterfall. Oh, that's nice. Oh, that looks beautiful. Around. And a few small bunny hops for airtime hills. Into the brake run. Wow. Yeah, I really like this this design. I'm a big fan of this one. Yeah, I love how it looks. So yeah, there you go, guys. That's another one in the pocket. I'll be back to another video, but until then, thank you very much for watching this and have yourself a wonderful day.